Welcome to the 580 Exchange. This is a groundbreaking moment where we have our first meeting with a faculty member and a student at the same time. So delighted to be with you both today. And let me give some quick introductions. First, Dr. Rich Keene, a man who probably needs no introduction on the Converse campus, chair of the psychology department and a professor of psychology who specializes in animal learning and behavior. And in addition to that, Dr. Keene, you participate in so much faculty-mentored research on our campus, working with great students like Paisley Stepp. Paisley is a rising senior on our campus, member of the track and field and cross-country teams, also a biochemistry major here at Converse, and participated in some fascinating research that we're excited to hear more about. Let me see if I get this right, the effect of high ambient temperature on appetite regulation in rats. Mm-hmm. So you're helping rats make good decisions in the buffet line. Right?
Exactly.
Make sure they're choosing well. So I'm delighted to have you both today and learn more about the work that you do together. So Paisley, we'll start with you. Mm-hmm. Earlier this year, you presented a joint research project at the 30th SkyCoo Symposium at Milliken and Company. Congratulations on that. So could you tell us a little bit more about the research that you've done?
Yes. So the research that I do, I work with Dr. Bowler here on campus, and we do neuroscience research. So we look at the effects of high ambient temperature that causes heat stress in rats, and we see the effect on appetite regulation, so their food and water intake. If that changes under heat stress, we compare that to their thermoneutral conditions. And we also look at their hypothalamus after that, and we see any gene expression, if there's different upregulation or downregulation of genes. And eventually we want to compare it to what that might look like in humans and climate change. So.
Wow. And thinking about, what those kind of larger impacts are.
What the future might look like.
For our society too. And in your work with Dr. Bowler, I'm sure that this is a lot of long hours and a lot of tracking over a long amount of time. Mm-hmm. How do you manage all that with also being a student athlete?
It's a lot. So I would say that organization is key. So we do the bulk of our research over the summer. And in the summer, I still have to train for cross country because I'm a year-round athlete. But luckily, I don't have classes over the summer. So I wake up normally around 5:30 every single morning, and I get my run out of the way because it's also very hot in Spartanburg, as you know. And then I come in at 9 a.m. and I do my research until about 4, sometimes 5. Sometimes we come in later to do our high ambient research, and that is a 3-hour period in the heat. So that's exciting. And then over the school time, I did volunteer hours for Dr. Bowler. So I kind of fit in, whenever I could in between class time, because I'm also the chemistry department assistant. So wow. I'm always in Pfeiffer. So sometimes I pop in real quick to check on rats. Sometimes I have 2 hours here and there to actually run the experiment. So it's all about organization and calendars.
And your whole day is heat and humidity. I mean,
yes,
that's basically you're balancing that all day.
Either outside or inside. It's always hot. So yes.
So Dr. Keene, you've worked so closely with so many Converse students over the years with this faculty-mentored research that we're so proud of. So what do you think the benefits for undergraduate students like Paisley are for this kind of closely mentored research?
Well, I mean, there's a ton. First off, as Paisley has demonstrated, she gets to learn information she would not normally learn, but she does get skills that she would never probably get in a normal classroom. You learn how to use advanced equipment. You use advanced statistical techniques, things like that. And then on the side, Paisley, for example, wants to go to graduate school. Mm-hmm. This looks great on a graduate school application. Mm-hmm. And working closely with Dr. Bowler, you'll have a very strong letter of recommendation that will help in graduate school. So there's a lot of advantages to participate.
And so much of that work, I guess, you can't learn unless you're sitting there with a faculty member side by side.
Yeah, and you might only get the surface of it in a normal laboratory classroom. And then with this, you get so much in-depth work.
Yeah. It's kind of that next level beyond the classroom. Paisley, you've spoken so beautifully in the past about how the impact of the Mary Helen Dalton Scholarship Fund has allowed your educational journey to proceed here at Converse. I wonder if you could talk a little bit more about what it means personally to you to have that kind of support as you pursue your goals here at Converse.
Personally, it means everything because financially it's very hard nowadays to go to college. And the Dalton Scholarship, receiving that was one of the best days in my high school, my senior high school years, because it was one of the biggest scholarships that I got. And to have it specifically from the science department at Converse was very exciting because, I wasn't sure exactly what I wanted to do here, but I knew I wanted to get involved in research and heavy in the science department. So that kind of felt like a good stepping stone for me personally.
Mhm.
To have money directly from the Dalton scholarship and seeing Dalton's face every single time you walk onto the first floor was kind of cool. The first time I saw that, I was like, oh, that's where my scholarship came from.
Yeah.
So yes, personally, it's everything because.
And I can't imagine how a student like you would squeeze more hours in the day to have a part-time job or to be able to, that scholarship really allows you to be able to focus on your research and to do
It does.
this kind of in-depth study.
Yes, it does. And it even allowed me to be a collegiate athlete because, I get funding for that, but that takes a lot of time up. So the financial aid from the Dalton scholarship means a
There are
lot
no
to me.
hours in the day left.
There isn't, so.
You don't need sleep.
But Dr. Keene, as our department chair and a faculty mentor, you worked with so many students and seeing these kind of distinctive programs on our campus. And I wonder, from your perspective, what makes a Converse education distinct?
Well, there are several things. Again, first off, because we're a smaller school and we have a very small student to faculty ratio, we get to know our students so much better than I went as an undergraduate to a big institution, and I don't know how many times I've talked individually to my professors there. And in a normal day, I might have 5 to 10 different students walk into my office to talk about whether it's research, whether it's classwork, whether it's about a sporting team or whatever. And so we do get to know our students so well, and part of that then leads them into having more of a commitment to their education itself, and just having more buy-in into their education, basically.
That personalization
Exactly.
is so key, and especially with students like you who are so advanced. Paisley, you are involved in so many fascinating areas on our campus, and I wonder, as you think back on your time on campus so far, and we still got a year with you, so we're not done yet, but what's something that has been a surprise to you, or maybe something that has really been exciting about the opportunities that have unfolded for you so far?
Well, to begin, I didn't think I was going to do research so soon in my undergrad career. I thought that maybe was going to be more of a junior and a senior thing. But going to such a small school, the opportunities are amazing here. And I got into research immediately. As of my freshman to sophomore summer, I immediately was able to connect with the research department and do research. And what Dr. Keene was saying is so important because Dr. Bowler, my research advisor, I can, I have his text number. I can just text him whenever I want, and he can just text me right back, and I can see him every single day, and we work personally together, and I see him throughout the whole school year. And it's really important that, we have that one-on-one connection. So I think that's a really surprising but cool thing about such a small school here. So.
And probably not the experience you would have at the larger school
No,
you
not at
experienced
all, yeah.
to be able to text
Yeah.
a research advisor in that kind of way.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is the part that I've probably been most excited about. We're calling this our lightning round. And you are both going to get a chance to ask each other a question. Have you been planning this?
Yes.
You got a good one? All right, we'll let you go first, Paisley.
Okay.
What you got for Dr. Keene?
So since I'm so curious about research,
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, over the years of you doing research, what's the most unexpected finding that you think you found?
Oh, very good. So I did a series of projects with Dr. Naval Erter, studying how caffeine affects temporal perception. Basically, it speeds up temporal perception in certain doses. But one of the experiments we did, we wanted to really expand what the range of the doses. And at more moderate levels, which would be, these were for rats, but if it was equivalent to humans, it might be 1 or 2 cans of Coke or a cup of coffee or something. But we did 10 times that dose. And that's a lot of coffee, right? And then the effect not only disappeared, it started to go like it was slowing down time a little bit instead of speeding it up. Now, we couldn't figure out exactly why that was the case, but that was so unexpected that for certain doses, you have a big effect, and then all of a sudden it disappears when you take too much of it.
And that went against your assumption?
Yeah, well, the idea that at least up to a point with medications, it should help, and then maybe just level off eventually, not go back down. So,
Interesting.
You're making me second guess that
I know
third
how
cup of
much-
espresso.
yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I need to pump the brakes. Oh, well, what a good question. Crazy. All right, Dr. Keene, payback.
Okay, yes.
You get
So I've heard you talk about when you were in high school and how you were looking at different colleges and like I think it was a guidance counselor who told you not to even consider Converse because you were interested in sciences.
Mhm.
What would you ask or tell someone, another high school student who was interested in sciences, who's like, oh, I don't want to consider Converse? What would you tell them?
I would tell them that's a lie. They should. I would just explain to them all the opportunities that I've gotten here and all the personal connections I made with the faculty, not just in the academic side of things. I just became the SAC president, so I'm like really close with the compliance officer here, and I have a really good connection with my coach. And I think small schools hold so much beauty in them that bigger schools don't. They're much more personal in every single aspect, and I think the opportunities are almost bigger here than bigger schools because they're more personal and they're easier to attain. So, yeah, that's what I would tell them.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
That's a
Thank you.
winning message, Paisley.
Yeah.
And I'll say, I know Dr. Keene, I know our whole faculty are so proud of the work you're doing.
Thank you.
And we can't wait to see what you do with your senior year
Thank you. I
here on our
appreciate it.
campus. Yeah.
Thank you.
This has been such a joy to connect with you both. Thank you for taking the time today to talk a little bit about the important role that faculty-led research plays here on our campus. So join us for the next 580 Exchange. Thank you.